What's up guys and gals, Aaron here from BikeBandit.com, and today we're going to be talking about why you need to periodically repack your exhaust muffler and then show you a couple ways to do it, so stay tuned. Whether you ride dirt or street, if you run a performance exhaust, at some point you're going to have to repack the muffler. Now this is an area of maintenance that gets overlooked a lot because a lot of people don't even realize this needs to be done or why. So to start things off, we'll go a little into explaining why you need to do this procedure, then we'll move into actually showing you a couple ways to do it. First off, let's talk a little about the difference between OEM and aftermarket exhaust. When it comes to OEM exhaust, manufacturers have their own priorities. They want them to be quiet and to last for years without maintenance. So they're made with thicker walls, using a series of baffles to redirect and muffle the sound, and they build their systems out of things like steel and aluminum, which require no maintenance. This makes them quiet and durable, but also heavy, and they also restrict performance. In aftermarket exhaust, performance is the top priority, so they're built totally differently. You see more designs that go straight through for maximum exhaust flow and the use of fiberglass packing instead of steel baffles to absorb the sound. These exhausts allow for lighter weight, more power, and better sound, but the downside is the packing does wear out and has to be replaced eventually. So the question is, why do you have to replace this stuff? Well, over time, the packing actually burns up in the exhaust canister, and as it does, the performance of your exhaust will degrade. Flow will be restricted, power will suffer, and the sound will become louder and less tuned sounding. Now we could just tell you that a muffler gets louder over time with use, but we thought it would be better to prove it to you on camera. So we're actually going to be using this decibel meter to measure the sound of the exhaust with the old packing and then compare it to the sound with the new packing after the job is done. Now how often do you have to do this? Well, we're going to be repacking a Yoshimura muffler today, and according to Yoshi's website, it should be done every 7,000 to 10,000 miles on a street bike and every 6 to 10 hours on a dirt bike. But in our experience, you can extend those intervals quite a bit if you want to. Now, repacking your exhaust is not too complicated, but there are a couple of challenges you might run into. First is working with fiberglass. This stuff is messy and can really irritate your skin and eyes, and you have to be careful when you work with it. We'll show you a couple of tricks for that later. The second challenge is dealing with the rivets that hold a lot of exhaust systems together. Many people assume rivets are permanent and are intimidated by the thought of removing and reinstalling them. But it's not as tough as it looks, and we'll show you exactly how to do that too. So now that you know a little bit more about mufflers and why they need to be repacked, let's get into actually showing you how to do it. First off, let's take a look at the supplies you need to do this job. First, you'll need a repacking kit with new fiberglass packing. We have two types here, one with loose packing and another with a fiberglass mat, and we'll show you what to do with both. You'll also need both a regular hammer and a rubber hammer or mallet, a razor blade, some silicone sealant, and a paint stirring stick or some masking tape depending on what kind of packing you use. Now if your exhaust is assembled with screws, lucky you, you'll just need a bit to get them off. If it's assembled with rivets, however, you'll also need a drill with a 3/16 drill bit, a small punch, and a rivet setter with new stainless steel rivets. Okay, now let's get into actually doing the job. First we'll have to pull the muffler, but before we do, we're going to get a before decibel meter reading to see how loud this exhaust is with the old packing still in. We're going to measure from 2 feet away at a 45-degree angle and rev the engine of this Honda XR650R to about 4,000 RPM. As you can see, the readout is 101 decibels, so that's our baseline. Now we're going to repack a muffler that happens to have Allen screws on one side of the can and rivets on the other, which is perfect because we're going to be able to show you both procedures. Let's start off with the easy side, the one with the Allen screws. We'll first remove these so we can pop off the end cap. Once those are off, you can remove the cap, but these are usually on there really tight. This is where you'll want to use some sort of mallet to work it off until it becomes loose. Now we want to show you how to remove the rivets too, in case yours is fully riveted together, so let's get to that. Here's what you do. First, punch out the center of each rivet with a small punch and a hammer. Then take a drill and a 3/16 drill bit and slowly drill out each rivet. Make sure you clear out all the old rivet material when you do this. Once that's done, you can go ahead and separate the inlet pipe from the can using the mallet as needed. Now you can pull out the tube and the packing, but before you do this, get ready to deal with the nastiness of fiberglass. Fiberglass particles will get everywhere when you do this, and fiberglass is no joke, so protect yourself. We're going to use work gloves and a dust mask while doing this, and wearing long sleeves is a good idea too. In addition, cover your work area with a big trash bag so you can crumple it up and throw away the whole thing rather than trying to sweep up fiberglass particles afterwards. Okay, now you can pull out the old packing and discard it. You'll also want to clean off the tube with a wire brush to get off all the old burnt packing. Now the muffler is fully disassembled and we can start getting it back together. But before we do that, we need to decide what kind of packing we plan to use. A loose packing like this or a pre-packed mat like this. For this muffler, we're going to use a packing mat because that's the more popular method. Now if you want to use a loose packing, you'll want to partially reassemble the muffler until you have only one end open, and then stuff the packing in there bit by bit, smashing it in with the paint mixing stick or a similar tool. But if you want to use the map, you will wrap the pipe first, securing it in place with some masking tape or wire before squeezing it back into the canister. Whichever method you choose is up to you, it's just a matter of preference. To install a rivet, you just line up the two holes and insert the rivet with a pin facing out. Then grab the pin with the rivet setter and start compressing it. As you can see, as the rivet is compressed, the inside portion mushrooms out to secure the two pieces together until eventually the pin snaps off at a pre-cut location. Once that's done, just take a little high-temp silicone sealant and run a thin bead around the seam. Then you can come over to the end cap side with the Allen screws and install that, making sure to run a thin bead around that side with silicone too. Once that's done, you can go ahead and install it back on the bike. Now with the muffler in place, we can go ahead and get our after decibel meter reading the same way we did with the before reading. As you can see, the new decibel level is 98.5, which is a reduction of about 3 decibels. After repacking, the new exhaust is quieter while still sounding powerful, and the bike will run better too. Well, that's about it for today's video, folks. We hope you found this information helpful and that you feel prepared to take on your own exhaust repacking job now. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, please leave it in the comments section below and we'll reply right away. And also remember to hit the subscribe button for more helpful videos like this one in your inbox every week. Thanks a lot for watching and we'll see you next time.